Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Welcome to International Public Speaking Competition hosted by LCC International University. So now we have completed the first round of the competition where we had two heats with 16 students from Ukraine from different schools and cities competing and sharing their speeches. And right now we're having a break during which the judges decide who can go on to the next round, and our participants can have a little bit of rest while we share about our university. So if you're interested in opportunities that LCC International University presents, please stay with us here right now as I will be sharing some useful information about the university. So let me share my screen with you and we'll begin. So LCC International University is the only North American university in the heart of Europe. And when we say that, we mean many different things. And I want to invite you to consider this opportunity to learn more about this university, this community that we represent, and maybe you'll find something in it for yourself. So we are located in the beautiful country of Lithuania, which is up here in the north of Europe. If you look at the map, it's this small country highlighted with red. And our university is situated in the city of Klaipėda. It's a small Baltic port, lots of history, beautiful nature, and of course, the LCC campus. All of them are located there. So what makes LCC International University unique is the North American style of education that we offer here. And this is something that is common for many schools in North America. And that is called a liberal arts approach to education. So in our university, students have an opportunity to develop their skills and knowledge not only in one narrow area, but also explore their interests and their talents in many different areas. So not a single student graduates with the very same diploma. Everyone has an individual study plan and they can pick and choose the courses and programs that they're interested in. We are international, not only in the name, but also in the nature of our university. Many of our professors come from the United States and Canada, and our students come from all over the world. Currently, we have more than 50 different nationalities represented at LCC, and it is truly like traveling around the world when you come to LCC. We are a university of Christian values and worldview, and students who want to grow in their faith and learn more about God are welcome here, as well as students who are not religious or who represent other religions of the world. We are fully accredited in the European University, and our diplomas are recognized everywhere in the world. And most importantly, we are relational. Every student is valuable for us as an individual. We put a big emphasis on building meaningful relationships between students, professors, and staff members. So life at LCC is not only about lectures, but it is also about different community events, service projects, and lots of different opportunities to grow and learn about yourself and the world outside of classroom. So let me share a little bit about the programs that we offer. At the bachelor level, we have 6 programs, and those include international business, contemporary communications, English, international relations, psychology, and theology. We also offer 2 master's programs, and those are in international management and in teaching English to speakers of other languages. We offer a full student campus experience. And as you could see previously, from the videos that we've shared, we do have modern classrooms. We have 2 very nice residence halls, a cafeteria, a gym, a sports center, all within a walking distance, both from the old town of Klaipėda and the Baltic Sea. So let me share just a few pictures of our beautiful campus. So this is the general view of the facilities that we have. This is how our academic building looks like. This would be the pictures of our dormitories. And these are the rooms that students live in. Students also share communal kitchens where they can cook and study together. And they can also participate in sports if they want to, in our sports facility, Michelson Centers. We are proud to have two great basketball teams, Basketball Moose Women and Basketball Moose Men. And there are also other semi-professional teams on campus, as well as opportunities to just keep fit and exercise. As I was saying earlier, at LCC, we put a big emphasis on student life, on experiences outside of classrooms. So we have more than 20 different clubs, 9 leadership programs, and lots of different events happening throughout the whole year. At LCC, students also have an opportunity to go and study abroad. So we have exchange programs with Erasmus+. That's an all-European program of exchange between different European universities. We have also international exchange programs with universities in China, Georgia, Indonesia, South Korea, and USA. At LCC, we really care for our students' well-being and their future, not only what's happening to them right now, but how we can build them up and prepare for future careers. So we have opportunities for on-campus and on-campus employment. We support our students in the Work and Travel USA program, and there are also lots of opportunities to do internships through our Career Development Center. So, important information, especially for those of you who are now in the final year of high school. You can start your application now. In fact, our early application deadline is coming up very soon on February 15th. So if you know that you're interested in LCC, you can go to our website, fill out the form, and apply early. Or you can take your time, explore your options, and apply a little bit later. And the spring up until May 15, which would be the late application deadline for our bachelor programs. So how do you apply? Well, as I said, you go to our website, lcc.lt, and fill out the form there. And once you do that, you also need to attach several documents. First of all, it's an English proficiency score, and we accept TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, and also Cambridge and Pearson tests. If you're still in the last year of high school, you need to submit us your school grades from last 2.5 years in school. And once we receive all of those documents, we would ask you to take part in an interview with the admissions committee, which is also done online. So you can call us via Zoom, like we're doing right now, and have a conversation about your future plans. So once that is done, and if you're successful, you will receive a admissions offer that would have a condition that you do graduate and receive a high school diploma in summer, and that your grades are not lower than the ones that you have submitted as previously, as well as you complete all of the graduation requirements of your country. And in Ukraine, that means that you do have to take external evaluation exams or ZNO. So please make sure that you do sign up for those exams, because they're necessary not only for Ukrainian universities, but also for your LCC application. We also offer students who are interested in LCC, but their English level is a little bit below our requirements, to apply with a requirement to take intensive academic English program. So if your TOEFL is 36, or your IELTS is 5 or Duolingo is 75, then you can still qualify for LCC, but you'll have to take Prime. And Prime is an excellent program for you to prepare for your studies at LCC. And it takes 1 or 2 semesters. And you are already a student at LCC, but you are also taking those academic English classes. while you are in prime. And for those students, we have a special offer of a 50% tuition discount once they join the program. Important information about tuition fees, as you see on the slide, our bachelor level tuition is €3,360 per year, and students usually pay this fee in 2 parts during each semester. And if needed, each semester fee can be also divided into 3 parts as well to make it a little bit easier for you and your family to pay. As you see, prime tuition is half the price, so it's €1,680. And for those of you who come outside of Klaipėda, outside of Lithuania, you may need to find a place for yourself to live in the residence hall, and that would cost around €100 per month. Now, keeping all of that in mind, we do have opportunities for students to receive financial aid. We want to be a place that is welcoming all students regardless of their financial situation at home, and so we offer different financial aid options. We have 20 different kinds of scholarships and grants, and more than half of our students receive some sort of financial aid at LCC. The average percentage would be 42% out of your tuition fees, but it really depends on your academics, on your grades, and also on your family situation. So if you are interested in receiving financial aid, it is quite possible. Feel free to contact us, and I will be happy to guide you through the application process as well. Also, an important information for those of you who are still in high school and want to improve their English level is that you can participate in our Summer Language Institute. It's a 3-week intensive English course that is happening in July. There are 12 different levels of English from the very beginner to advanced. There are 6 hours of English per day, lots of fun, games, and academic learning. The program fee is €350 for the 3 weeks, plus €150 for housing. And good news for you participating in this competition today is that if you do get to win and go to the international finals of the competition, you will be able to compete for a free ticket to our Summer Language Institute. So you will be competing for quite a big financial prize, meaning that you will not have to pay this amount, but you will be able to join the Summer Language Institute for free. Also, we'd like to let you know about the opportunity to join the LCC Academy classes. And this is a free online lecture series designed for prospective students like you, where you learn from our professors online. You come to lectures, you listen, ask questions, discuss them in small groups, and learn about different important topics, learn what it's like to be a university student. And also, if you successfully complete all of the requirements of the program, you can get an extra admissions point for participation in this program. So check your emails, check our social media, and sign up for this program as well. So if you're from Ukraine, there's lots of social media channels where you can follow us and get updates about LCC specifically for Ukrainian audience and in the Ukrainian language. So feel free to check out our Instagram, our Facebook, Telegram. Also, we have a great website, and you can always reach us out via email. So I personally work with applicants from Ukraine, and I am a Ukrainian. I speak English, Ukrainian, and Russian. So feel free to reach out to me personally. If you or your parents have any questions about LCC, I will be more than happy to answer them. So thank you very much for your attention. And now we will announce the winners in just a minute or so. So let me stop sharing my screen and let me get back to our judges. I think they have the results now, and I will be able to share them with you in just a minute or so. Right. Well, it seems like we are ready to announce the winners. So let me share my screen once again with you, and we'll be able to do that. So now I'm going to present the names of the speakers who were best in their rounds. And it means that they will now participate in the finals, and they will deliver their speeches once again in this common room. And if you don't hear your name, I do invite you to still stay with us and listen to the best speeches, and also ask your questions if you have any. All right, so let me share my screen with you once again. So Heat A winners are Katerina Hrapak, Olga Burdeina, and Victoria Sklarenko. So congratulations, ladies. You will now present in our second round. Very well done. And Heat B winners are Mikita Kuzmenko, Sofia Shunevich, Daniil Ikonnikov, and Sofia Sviridenko-Tsiganok. Okay, so very well done, everyone. Congratulations to the winners. And those who didn't make it to the finals, well done still. You did an amazing job, and I think it was quite difficult for our judges to decide. And we're going to learn even more right now once we hear from the finalists. So let's begin the second round of our competition. And I'm going to invite Katerina Hrapak to deliver her speech again. So Katerina, please turn on your camera, turn on your volume, and you have 5 minutes to present your speech.
Hello, everyone. I am thankful for this opportunity, and I entitled my speech, Learn a Foreign Language, Build a Bridge to a Human's Heart. I would like to start with a question. Have you ever been in a situation when you had to communicate with a person who did not understand the language? I am convinced that many people have, and it took a lot of efforts to explain what you wanted and then to understand the answer, or you even failed to succeed. The appearance of verbal language as a means of interaction dates back to prehistoric times, when the demand for communication and solving common tasks arose. Human society evolution bred more than 5,000 languages, and a different language is actually a different vision of life. Because people who originated from different locations have formed a diverse perception of the same objects. On that basis, misunderstandings can frequently happen. Therefore, the value of the knowledge of a foreign language as a path to solving a conflict can hardly be exaggerated. A conflict can always be resolved in two ways, either armed response or communication, which leads to mutual agreement and peace. But how can people find the common language when actually they do not know each other's languages? In the history of mankind, we can easily find a lot of examples when the knowledge of foreign language helped to make an important step towards peace and solving essential issues for the whole country. Let's go back to 1805 and see a vivid example which can illustrate the powerful role of the knowledge of foreign language known in the history of USA as the Louisiana Purchase. Lewis and Clark were appointed by the President Thomas Jefferson to explore the western part of American continent. A lot of Indian tribes inhabited such a vast territory, and before purchasing the land, the president wanted to be assured that the Native Americans would not start war with white Americans. The explorers even carried peace medals with them to give to Indian chiefs. Nonetheless, their mission would have been impossible unless an Indian woman, Sacagawea, had accompanied the mission. Lewis and Clark had a few close shaves during the expedition when Indians desired to kill the strangers. Sacajawea was very valuable as she knew Indian languages and was able to arrange peaceful meetings. She reconciled all the Indians to Americans' friendly intentions. And it is clear now that the language was the key to success, and Sacajawea appeared to be the only bridge between Indian cultures and actually different civilizations. That was in the past, but even in everyday life, when we do not fulfill any complicated missions, the knowledge of foreign language can be quite helpful. It is common knowledge that English has become widespread all over the world, and it is a tool of international communication. It has undoubtedly eased interaction between people who speak different languages. But I would also like to support the standpoint of Nelson Mandela, who said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. On the one hand, when you learn a foreign language, it helps you to understand people's culture, mentality, life values, and even beliefs. On the other hand, it's a psychological aspect. Recall a situation when a foreigner tried to speak to you in your native language. It always evokes positive emotions and smile appears on your face. People continue interacting or willing to help because they feel that the person put some efforts to learn their native language. This way he showed respect to the nation and country. Hearing our native language makes us more positive and open to communication. To crown this all, there are thousands of languages which are the bloodstreams of nations, and this makes our world diverse. But the knowledge of foreign language builds bridges which leads to mutual understanding and peace. As an Arab proverb goes, learn a language and you will avoid a war. Thank you for the attention. I am eager to answer your questions.
Right. Thank you very much for your speech. Do we have any questions for Katarina from judges or maybe from the audience? If you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Kate. Excellent job, and I appreciate you standing up. I think that helps with your energy. So that was really good. So it was Sacagawea. Was she taken along as an interpreter? I'm trying to remember. I think she was married to one of the Lewis and Clark explorers. But did they specifically take an interpreter, or were they planning on that?
They were said to explore the western part, and Sacagawea, who was herself from Indian tribe, lived with them. So they got her, and she accompanied their mission. She was like a bilingual woman who knew English as well as Indian language, and she helped to communicate with Indian tribes and explorers.
Thank you. Actually, I live and right now on the Columbia River, which is where where Lewis and Clark ended up. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any more questions?
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Sophia.
Have you ever had a situation in your life when English helped you really much? Maybe you had some kind of an extreme situation abroad, or maybe in your own country when you had to use English or any other language?
Thank you for your question. It was not an extreme situation, but I was abroad with my friends in Bulgaria, where I had to use my English. I stood in front of the person and didn't understand barely any word. Bulgarian language and Ukrainian are from one Slavonic group, but it was brainwashing to stand in front of the person and not understanding any word. We tried gesture language, but in the end, English, the third language, which I and my friends and you helped us to help each other and find common language.
Okay, your story is really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you both. And we will move on to our next participant. And I invite Mikita Kuzmenko to present.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to present my speech today. What springs into your mind when you hear the word language? Maybe the language of music or poetry, the language of mathematics or technologies, or the language of love. What unites all these themes? Well, personally, I understand the language as a tool to express our feelings, emotions, plans, and intentions. A tool to build communication and, of course, to resolve conflicts. Throughout history, many contradictions have been associated with misunderstandings due to the inability to speak the same language, or simple cultural differences. The emergence of having its own language and writing is one of the crucial stages in the formation of a nation and a state. Obviously, the importance of having the language as one of the essential means of communication among the members of a society is vividly described in the Holy Bible. According to Genesis, the Babylonians wanted to make a name for themselves by building a mighty city and a tower with its top in the heaven. God disrupted the work by so confusing the language of workers, so they could no longer understand one another. The city was never completed, and the people were dispersed over the face of the earth. It's no wonder that the process of the formation of a language for international communication has experienced a long history. Latin was the first language used for large-scale international negotiations. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Latin did not cease to exist, but its importance was tremendous. In fact, at the end of the 15th century, French became the most popular language after Latin, and then was Esperanto. However, Esperanto has never succeeded in becoming an international one. The growing influence of the former colonies of the British Empire, primarily the United States, Canada, and Australia, led to the popularization of the English language throughout the world. Its simplicity of structure and grammar has made it easy to learn, and it has become the main international language. Needless to say that the main function of any language is that it preserves culture and transfers it from generation to generation. That is why language plays such a significant role in the formation of the personality and nation. I think everyone knows the name of the professor of philology John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. It was he who created the worlds of Middle-earth, and the first thing he came up with were languages its inhabitants could speak. His greatest masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings, is an indisputable proof of it. I would also like to add that the pioneer of cross-cultural psychology, Harry Triandis, declared that the process of inculturation lays the foundation for shaping our mind's frame and defining what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, what is good, what is rude or polite, and what is right or wrong. It's very important in determining the policy for conflict resolution and its process. Thus, cultural values can narrow or broaden one's perception of an event, focus or diffuse one's sense of logic, or even discard certain information as irrelevant. So the differences in culture may precisely lead to the misunderstandings caused by inaccurate translation. The only time in history that nuclear weapons were used as an act of war was possibly due to the incorrect translation of one word. In August 1945, the United States dropped the first atomic bomb on Japan's Hiroshima, followed by another one on Nagasaki. A month before Japanese Premier Kantaro Suzuki's one-word reply to the United Nations leaders' ultimatum was mokusatsu. Moku symbolizes silence, and satsu is kill. His response was interpreted by foreign media outlets that the ultimatum was not worthy of an answer. However, the premier had used that phrase many times previously and intended it to mean no comment. This fact proves once again the importance of language and culture in the process of conflict resolution. To sum up, I would like to say that language is an effective tool for conflict resolution. We express knowledge and feelings using language. An effective conflict resolution tool should take linguistical and cultural factors into consideration, and only afterwards the language can be called international and serve well for international communication. As an old Arabian proverb says, learn a language and you will avoid a war. Thanks for your attention.
All right, Mikita, thank you very much for your speech. Do we have any questions for Mikita?
May I ask my question?
Go ahead.
Do you think that English could become a such language as Esperanto, in such a way that little people use Esperanto in their everyday life? Do you think that the same thing may happen to English language or not?
Thank you very much for your question. A very interesting question. because the story of Esperanto is not so long, because the Esperanto was created by a certain man, and it was not a traditional language created by nationality. It was not spoken by large groups of people, by nations, by commons. There wasn't any national different proverbs, sayings in the Esperanto. It was not one moment. It was complicated to use Esperanto in your daily life. So, but English is very old language. It is spoken by billions of people all around the world. So I think English will become. It's now the main international language, and its influence may only increase.
Oh, thank you for your answer. I share your view, actually. It's really interesting.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia, for being so active. Maybe other participants or judges have a question.
Nikita, may I ask a question? You mentioned in your speech that knowing the different languages help understand the cultures and prevent the cultural differences or bring clarity to cultural differences. Maybe you have an example in your life where knowing the language, knowing the culture kind of helped you understood the situation that you were in, or with somebody that you were communicating.
Oh yes, I have such an example. As you know, I live in the city of Zaporizhia, and one day I was going to school by bus, and I met there a German. And in Germany, they need to buy one bus ticket, and it can serve them for two rides, for two ways. But this man have bought a ticket in advance and tried to show it to the bus driver. But driver didn't know that this system works in Germany. But as I was learning German, I helped this man to solve such situation.
Awesome. So he was able to ride the bus?
Yes, I have told him that he needs to buy a new ticket, and that was great.
Thank you. Thanks, Nikita.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And let's move on to our next participant, Olga Burdeina. Please.
Yes, I'm here. So, ladies and gentlemen, judges, teachers, fellow scholars, it's my pleasure to participate today in this competition. My name is Olga Burdeina, and today I'm here in order to interpret the following successful person of the 21st century. But before I start, I would like to ask you several questions. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Мовиш по-польську? Чи спілкуєтесь ви українською? If you answered "Я кlar", "Так" or "Звичайно", and you're watching my presentation in English, chances are you belong to the world's bilingual or multilingual majority. And besides having an easier time traveling or watching movies without subtitles, mastering foreign language may mean that your brain actually looks and works of your monolingual friends. You may have a completely non-identical approach to life and accordingly revolutionary approaches to solving the world's most burdensome issues. So why the knowledge of foreign global language is crucial in today's world? Today's young people are growing up in a fast-paced world. As new technologies, labor market, digital channels open up new opportunities, they open up also the challenges for the youngsters and the workforce. And to be fully prepared for life in the global economy, it is vital to evolve and it is vital to develop the right skills, sometimes referred to as deep skills or core skills of the 21st century, which create the new ways of working, new ways of thinking, and new ways of living in the modern world. Among them, the crucial role, of course, plays the communicative skills and the great knowledge of foreign language. Development of those skills may help young people to grow into creative, critical, and highly intellectual creatures, citizens ready to shape the future for themselves and for the generations. There is no doubt that learning is a special gift to be treasured always. Whether we are in Kyiv or in London, we always have to embrace and appreciate the ability and possibility to learn something new as the special key to the implementation of our dreams. But why English? Our priority. English is becoming the global language. At least half 1 billion people in the world use English at home or at work. Problems of the 21st century as democracy, demography, ecology cannot be resolved without having the same sense of language. Interpreters take time, and now time is as precious as never before. So one of the things that has changed over the past few decades is something called globalization that affects the communication and trade unions among the people all around the world. More and more countries are starting working together. To make it easier for them to work together, they would learn each other's language. English has become the main language in today's world, in the global arena. Global issues such as sustainability and sustainable development cannot be resolved without this kind of language. And all of these meaningful events can be accomplished by the whirlwind of the IGOs, international intergovernmental organizations, such as United Nations, European Union, which consists of the sovereign state actors, which has English as their main official language. They reduce conflicts, promote democratization, and shape crisis bargaining. Ladies, judges, teachers, fellow scholars, consequently, possessing a special ability to use foreign language fluently poses a great range of opportunities and special doors in your life. They open the doors in your life. Despite having the wide influence on the personal development of everyone, it also hugely impacts the world's affairs and global issue solving. Language is undoubtedly the most powerful tool we have for reaching out to others, which a successful person of the 21st century has to acquire and possess. I'm ready to expand upon what I have mentioned and to answer all your questions. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Olga. Do we have any questions from judges or participants?
I would like to ask a question. You mentioned that a great part of population use English and they speak it. Do you think it is better to use your native language or international, for example, English, in everyday life?
Thank you for your great question. I think that it is a very controversial question, actually, and it may have different approaches. So, of course, we shouldn't forget our mother tongue. Mother tongue is as precious for us as never before. If we forget our language, we forget our roots, and our language is the root. And as Lina Kostenko, our Ukrainian poetess, said that if the mother tongue dies, then the whole nation dies. So of course we have to remember our mother tongue. But in order to have the wide career prospects, in order to have the wide and successful life, we should know the global language. We should acquire the opportunity, we should acquire and possess those skills to know the English. And if we know the English, then all the possible doors are open for us. We can communicate, we can gather, we can share our mother tongue to others, so we can learn something, we can learn others, teach others our even mother tongue. So for example, last year I participated in the European summer school camp in Georgia, and because of my knowledge of English, I was able to explain my friends from Georgia how to say the basic words in Ukrainian, and they were really satisfied with that. So I think that we should learn English at least to share and spread our culture and our language. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, I have a question. Oh,
Sure, go ahead, sorry.
all right. You were focusing on the skills of the successful person of the 21st century. You also mentioned that there are some challenges for the young people in the contemporary world. Could you expand on that? What kind of challenges do you experience, or do you see or anticipate for the new generation to face in the contemporary world? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your question. Of course, there are lots of opportunities for the young people, for the young, successful, and ambitious people today. We can use all of them. But as the world is developing really in the fast-paced world, we live in the fast-paced world, this may have like a bit like bad consequences on us. And you know that because of this fast-paced world, because of this pace, some people, they may lose maybe their identity, and they would like to follow the special pathway of the others. They may become assimilated. And because of that, I told about globalization, and we know that globalization has the positive and negative aspects. And among the negative aspects, there is something called the assimilation. So and we shouldn't do that. So we have to be unique. And maybe sometimes young people, they lose their self-identity, they lose something deep inside of their hearts because of their desire to become the same and to become successful and to follow all the best and to have all the opportunities. And this is maybe the very, very specific thing. But of course, there are other issues. And we know that lots of youngsters, they don't have the opportunities to evolve fully. And in some countries, they are still experiencing the global issues, the poverty, the others. And we as the future generation should learn the English. We should learn the foreign languages in order to help those youngsters to become the highly intellectual, critical, and provision. We have to know that we have to have the wisdom inside of our brains in order to rule this world and to create the better societies. So yeah, I basically believe that in this fast-paced world, we can lose our self-identity, and this is maybe the main restriction that we have today. Yeah, thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Olena, for the question. And we can now move on to our next participant. So I'd like to invite Sofia Shunevich.
Hi, everyone. We have met today, maybe with someone we haven't met today. So hello. Today, I would like to start my speech with a story that happened to me a few years ago. One day, my mom rushed into my room and told me that an American girl was coming to live with us in our home. I was extremely excited because I have never met an American before, not to mention the fact that I lived with one. So after those 2 months, I have learned English better, obviously, and I have learned how to express my opinion and how to hear out others. So today I would like to speak about people who are in the medium between two people who don't speak different languages. So these people, or maybe this doesn't concern languages, these people are mediators. So when conflict occurs, these people hear out two sides that have a conflict, and then this person is trying to find the best way to come over the conflict that occurred. I strongly believe that the role of mediator in our world is important because we have already diplomats that fix those conflicts on global scale, but we need someone who will be able to solve those conflicts in smaller communities, don't you think? So have you ever thought that there could be a dead language? You may ask me, Sophia, how could language die? But it was created in such a way. So this language is called Esperanto. The thing is that the aim of this language was to create something that people would use no matter where they would be. And despite the fact that they didn't know the language of each other, they could communicate and find a way out of any problem. So this language was created out of thin air. And how do you think, why didn't it survive? In my opinion, behind every language in the world stand people, culture, identity, and you can't just create one language out of thin air, you know? It is a really hard path. So today I would also like to tell you about a woman who was a former US Prime Secretary, if I'm not mistaken. She is Madeleine Albright. So the thing is that she used to wear special brooches to her negotiations. She was famous for that, actually. And one day she found out that she was being tapped, and she decided to show her knowledge of this by wearing a special brooch on her shirt. So in this way, she showed the other side who was negotiating with her that she knew that those people weren't so good as she had hoped. And of course, they found out that Madeleine was a smart woman. So in this speech, I really wanted to show you that language isn't just an alphabet, you know? It is a whole world that is created in our communities, and we need to make them flourish. We need to put history, we need to put people behind it so that it would be important to others. So I really hope that you enjoyed my speech and you aren't so bored right now. So thank you all for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you, Sophia. Do we have any questions from judges or participants?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned examples from history, especially about Esperanto, and it was really interesting to hear about that. But do you know any recent examples in the modern world, in the global politics, where the language played a crucial role in the conflict resolution, and where the language actually was the main tool towards the resolution of the conflict? Yeah, thank you.
Actually, it's hard to think of an example, but I think that we may put Ukrainian as an example, because we see throughout the history that Ukraine has been captured by Russian Empire many times, and our language was taken away from us. Like we were forbidden, people forbid to speak our own language. People were killed just because they wrote poems in their native Ukrainian language. So I think that when we finally became free, independent country, we started to use our dead language again, and we started to it was reborn, and it started to be popular among Ukrainians, and they may now solve conflicts on big scale, even with Ukrainian language. And think about it, only 31 years ago, we weren't independent at all. And now we have such a big world of our own language that we may bring it higher and higher in the eyes of the other people. So I think it is really important. Thank you for your question. It's really interesting.
Sophia? Sophia, I'd like to ask you a question. You mentioned the language is a connection to the world through culture. And you also mentioned you had this American living with you for 2 months, months that helped you improve your language. And so I'm curious, in this experience of living with this American and improving your language, what doors did it open up for you to understand that culture, the American culture?
So the thing is, before I got this experience, I considered English to be just a school subject, just a present simple, present continuous, past simple, and that's all. But when this girl, Rachel, her name was Rachel, I hope she didn't die. I understood that English isn't just an alphabet, you know. I learned how to explain my thoughts through this language. I learned how to like explain basic things, like we were cooking borscht, and I explained to her like this is cabbage, this is water, like this you have to put, and you understand. So and during and after those 2 months, I felt more free, you know, like. And I am so thankful for this experience to Peace Corps. It was in action from Peace Corps. Yeah. Thank you for your question. It is really interesting.
Okay, thank you very much, Sophia. And now I would like to invite our next participant, Victoria Sklerenko.
So, good afternoon again. I would like to present my report on the topic, the language as a way for the conflict resolution in the world. Language is the best proxy for the establishment of friendship and harmony, said Desiderius Erasmus Rhodidamas. Language is the main means of communication in society. It shows people's level of erudition and development. There are many languages, and each of them is a source of wisdom that has been formed for centuries. However, nowadays, language is becoming the source of individual, social, and cultural conflicts. The history tells us that people have been trying to create one language for conflict resolution to live peacefully since ancient times. One of the very first examples in history is the building of the Babylonian Tower. The unfinished tower has become a symbol of discord and misunderstanding. This event exactly shows that one common language can promote progress of humanity, and its absence leads to conflict. Since that time, 5 millennia have passed, and people have been still trying to find only one language to create a peaceful world without arguments and conflicts. These attempts were aimed at the invention of the artificial language, like Esperanto. Then, English became the connection link for all people only at the beginning of the 20th century. Nowadays, we can talk about the domination of one language that can unite all the fields of people's life. To my mind, English suits perfectly to solve conflicts on the individual and international levels. Furthermore, language helps to achieve mutual understanding in a family. It is the well-known fact that there are lots of multilingual families. Language is a way to understand each other's feelings and desires. It is the culture that unites generations. All the families having tea together, and while talking, they are solving problems of parents and children. Nearly everyone in the world understands the words, I love you. On the other hand, English is the way of international cooperation with the goal of the humanity developments. It is the language of science and technology. Only the unification of people from different countries will enable humanity to move forward. Today, more than 90% of all internet resources are in English. All computer programs are created using the English language. Scientific articles and new gadgets unite people all over the world. A significant number of modern innovations in diverse fields like science, sport, entertainment, culture, etc. are connected with the English language. In addition, in the time of pandemic, some scientists and doctors have united to find a cure and vaccine to save the humanity. The acquaintance of scientists from different countries can happen only by using one common language that everyone can understand. Not by accident, we often say to find a common language. Furthermore, English is the language for international friendship for the benefit of progress of the whole world. For example, it is possible to talk about the Peace Corps, the organization that helps to save peace all over the world. One of its purposes is the integration of Ukrainians into the world community by learning English. Moreover, there is a development in the space industry. Now there are lots of people from different countries all over the world, such as Japan, Belarus, Russia, the USA, and others on the space station. In addition, modern flights of Inspiration 4, organized by Elon Musk, will become the impetus to the development of the space tourism. Consequently, we can see that the there should actually be a common language for communication. It will enable people to avoid conflicts and promote harmonical development of the humanity. That is why I encourage you to study the English language. It will increase our level of personal education. What is more, it teaches us to appreciate other people's language. Thank you really much for the attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Victoria. So judges, participants, I invite you to ask questions if you have any.
I would like to ask a question. Nowadays, we can use highly advanced technologies. For example, we can use online translator to instantly translate our thoughts to other person who do not understand our language. Do you think will it replace the importance of knowledge of foreign language?
Thank you for a really interesting question. As you have mentioned, there are lots of modern programs that are designed to translate our thoughts from one language to another, maybe when we don't know that language or one of that languages. But actually, I don't think that some technical things, some techniques will replace live language, because language is something that was formed through the centuries, and it has the culture, it has some native speakers, and maybe computer programs just don't give this liveness to other people. So maybe if we want to maybe develop the language and develop our skills in this language, we can actually use some technical programs, but maybe live speaking is also really essential, because it is maybe not just about computers and techniques. Thank you really much for the question.
Thank you.
I have a question, Victoria. You mentioned the new words, or you were talking about the fact that so much of the programming and sources on the internet are in English. And as the native speakers of Ukrainian, when you guys use computers, use technology, I'm just wondering how much of the English words are actually penetrating Ukrainian language nowadays. I know there is a trend to find Ukrainian, specifically Ukrainian words to correlate to the English words for technology or for any kind of new concepts. So I'm just wondering, and if you could expand a little more on your take on the process and where do you stand in this?
So thank you very much. It is an interesting question also. So you know that there are lots of words that Ukrainians took from another languages, and also some languages were mixing because people were communicating, and actually they were sharing some of their thoughts and some of their maybe words that they know. So I know that there are quite a lot of words in Ukrainian that are the same as in the English language. So, for example, maybe cooperation, composition, maybe revolution as well. But you know, sometimes people forget that there are Ukrainian words that just mean the same as some modern words from English. So I think that we should actually use some words that we took from other languages, but we shouldn't forget our native language and use as much our native words as it is possible. Thank you very much too.
Thank you. And we are ready for our next speaker, Daniil Ikonnikov.
Thank you very much. The topic of my speech is language as a means of negotiation. And I would like to begin my speech by asking you a question. It gets often asked at different competitions. In your opinion, what was the single most important invention for the humankind? Now, most people would probably answer something like cars or computers, or maybe even the internet. And these are all absolutely valid variants, as we can hardly imagine our daily life without any of these devices. See, the keyword here, however, is hardly. Of course, our life would be completely different and quite possibly much harder without any of these things, but humanity as a whole would still exist just as it used to in the 19th, 18th, and all the previous centuries. So why don't we take a more general approach instead? Of course, things such as wheels or fire were crucial to our development as a species, but we wouldn't get anywhere if we couldn't understand what anyone else says, would we? So I think my point is pretty obvious by now. Language is the most influential tool at our possession and the only engine of international cooperation. I'm someone who likes drawing examples, and I think a fitting one would be the biblical myth about the Tower of Babel. Once upon a time, all humans on earth spoke the same tongue, and so they gathered in the city of Babylon to build the tallest tower, so tall in fact that it would reach God in heaven himself. Of course, the Lord was offended by the Babylonian selfishness and insolence, and so he made them all speak different languages, thus completely stopping the construction progress and scattering the people across the world. This example proves that proper communication is essential to any project or community. Just think about it. International negotiation and cooperation brought us some of the biggest advancements. Another great example is the Cold War. Despite being called this way, this period of time was quite heated actually. So tense, in fact, that on multiple occasions, everything boiled down to a single press on the infamous red button. So how was it made possible to avoid that? Well, by negotiation, of course. By undergoing a long and tedious process of dialogue and trade-offs, peace, at least relatively, was achieved. I think at one point, the leaders of all sides realized that if nothing is done, everything will just become radioactive rubble. And I think it is very important to note, however, that dialogue is, so to say, a dance for two. If your dialogue becomes a monologue, even the best negotiation techniques won't help you reach an agreement. This leads me to my last point. Language isn't only essential on a grand scale of things. Just think about your daily life. Could you achieve anything? Could you travel abroad or study in foreign universities? Well, I think the answer is obvious. So, to sum up, in my opinion, our most important possession is nothing of material value. It is our evolutionary skill to speak, but what's even more important, to listen. Thank you for your attention very much.
Thank you, Daniil. Now I invite our judges and fellow participants to ask questions.
I have a question. So I enjoyed your speech very much. And you mentioned about that time when dialogue replaces with monologue. What do you think about the situation when more people join this dialogue and it becomes polylogue, I guess? Would it be easier or harder to make it through?
Yes, thank you. It's a very relevant question. And I think that it depends mostly on people that take part in this conversation. Because if everyone only chases their own goals, then obviously a conclusion won't be reached. But if each side is ready to make trade-offs and listen to others, then it might be even more beneficial to the goal. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I ask you a question? So you have mentioned a period of Cold War, but as you know, there were many situations during the Cold War where negotiations failed to solve the problem. I mean, the situation in Korea, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, and many others. So my question is, what should we do when negotiations can't help us to solve the conflict?
Yes, thank you for this relevant question as well. I considered this, and this is why I said that peace was relatively achieved, not complete peace, because sadly, realistically, it isn't possible to achieve world peace. We can only hope to achieve it relatively and maintain it for as long as possible. And I think that when sides aren't willing to cooperate is really one of the major problems of negotiation, and it is a very relevant issue. I think that there are multiple ways out of this, many of which are studied in diplomacy schools. I think that most probably it's important to gather support from as many sides as possible, and use different persuasive techniques to base your thoughts upon, so that your claims aren't empty and baseless. So yeah, there are definitely multiple techniques, but I'm sadly not a certified diplomat, so I cannot comment on all of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I guess we can move to our last but not least participant, Sofia Sveredenko-Tsigano. So please, the floor is yours.
Good evening to everyone. I'm happy to participate, and the title of my speech is Second Language as a First Need. It is not a secret that nowadays people often choose English, which has a great influence all over the world, as a second language to learn. Actually, that's pretty reasonable considering the fact that it is an international language of science, technology, business, tourism, diplomacy, and so on and so forth. Being essential in almost every sphere of life, English keeps on gaining its popularity and becomes more and more important, even in your daily life. It increases your chances of getting a good quality education or better job, for example. It may help communicate with strangers abroad to find a way if you got lost, or just to find some new friends. Moreover, more sources of information are open to you as long as you can search for some hints in a different language. Furthermore, English is also called the language of the internet. And it means that more than half of the content on the internet is written in English. So summarizing all I said, mastering a foreign language is a way to express your thoughts and your emotions to others, explore the world around you and study something you're interested in, easily communicate with others, and just learn something new. So our question is, how does language cause conflict resolution? I think that words are our way to express our thoughts and connect with people around us. So basically, they carry meanings that make sense to members of the social environment. Humans. Consequently, conflict resolution relies heavily on word choices. By that I mean that to a very large extent, basic choice of language and words could end as well as fuel a conflict. So obviously, we should be very careful to what we are saying. I've made a research and found out that there is another viewpoint, and I'm talking about linguistic conflict, which often results from language contact between different ethnic groups. But contact, and conflict are seen as interdependently related elements. Yet, it occurs between speakers, not between languages. So we came to the idea that people frequently are the main cause of confusions, which later resolves conflicts. Frankly speaking, that conclusion is pretty obvious, but personally, I do think that it concerns not only foreign languages, because after all, sometimes even speaking the same language feels like your interlocutor is from a different planet. I'm not even talking about the country. That is why I insist on learning, exploring, and deepening into foreign languages, because our mouth, our speech, is the only way to make others aware of what we want and what are our intentions. All in all, I came to the conclusion that we should educate oh my god, I'm so sorry, educate ourselves, improve ourselves, our skills, our knowledge, because only the combination of a great amount of features would give us a perfect result, a full understanding of others and the situation in general. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sophia. So, any questions from judges or participants?
I
May I
have a
ask-
question.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
Actually, someone else said. Okay. Who will be the first?
Maybe you can go ahead and then we'll invite later.
So you have mentioned the fact that English is a language of the internet, and I understood that you meant that English is extremely important language nowadays, that everyone uses it. Do you think that there is a language that would move English aside, like maybe one more language is gaining such popularity, such importance as English?
Yeah, thank you for your question. By that, actually, I meant that a lot of studies, some science works are made on English and published on their language. And because of that, I said this. Of course, I do believe that all languages play crucial role in everybody's life. A lot of languages are gaining its popularity nowadays. For example, we have Spanish, we have French, as international languages as well. And many studies are also published on these languages, but I meant that actually more than half of the content is published in English.
Yeah, thank you. Your answer is very good.
Thank you.
So I will go next, probably. My question is about the bilingual and multilingual families. We know that nowadays there are lots of families that use 2 3 languages in their families. But those children who are raised in such families, they face not only the benefits from this, but also some significant drawbacks. And there are some even conflicts between them and their peers. I would like you to elaborate a little bit on that. Maybe you have noticed and communicated with such people, and you have noticed some troubles that they may face in their life in such a position, like the bilingual child. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Well, actually, I was participating in exchange program, and I lived in Canada in family where they spoke 2 languages. It was French and English. And because of that, sometimes it was awkward situations because I spoke to my to family I lived in English, and sometimes they replied to me in French, and there were quite misunderstandings because of that. But we used to go to school there, and everything seemed okay because everybody understand everyone, and a lot of students actually also used 2 languages. I don't think that it is like pretty hard to solve because usually child in those families speak 2 languages pretty good. Because of this, I think they really find some way to communicate with others. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. This was a very productive and very interesting time. Thank you, speakers, for preparing and delivering your speeches. Thank you, judges, for listening carefully. And thank you, everyone who was asking questions. So now is the time for our judges to meet again and to discuss who is going to be the winner of this competition. So I'm going to open the breakout room for the judges and participants. I invite you to stay here in this main room while the judges are discussing your speeches. And while we wait for their final decision, we'll play a quick but interesting Kahoot game. So take out your phones or other mobile devices and join me in a game of Kahoot while our judges are joining the breakout rooms and deciding on who to nominate as the top 3 speakers of today's competition. So if you are ready to compete, let me share my screen with you one more time so we can play an exciting Kahoot game. So this is an online quiz. And if you were listening to my presentation in the first break carefully, you'd be able to do very well on this quiz. So in order to join, you need to go to the website, kahoot.it, or if you have the app on your phone, open the Kahoot app. And once you log in, you need to enter the game PIN, and it's 1827903. This would enable you to join. You'll have to identify yourself, and once you join the game, we'll be able to begin. So thank you, Sophia and Olga, for joining. Let's maybe wait a minute or so for others to join. Okay, I see more people. Nikita, Daniil, Sophia, thank you so much. Kate, welcome. It is a fun quiz, and I hope that you will enjoy participating in it. Okay, so welcome, Kate. Welcome, Victoria. Let's maybe wait 30 more seconds for people who are interested in joining. And if you are watching us live on YouTube and if you would like to join this game, feel free to do so as well. I think it will be fun to have more people. All right, so last 15 seconds to join. You need to open the website kahoot.it and enter the PIN 1827903. Okay, and then you identify yourself so that we would know who does respond to these questions and who is the best in the group. All right, so last 5 seconds to join. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's start. So this is a quiz about LCC, the university that is hosting this competition. And question number 1 is, LCC is located where? In which city? Is it Kaunas? Is it Kansas City? Is it Klaipėda? Or is it Kiel? So if you were attentive during the presentation, or if you have studied our website carefully, if you know people who studied at LCC or who have graduated, they should have told you that LCC is located in this great city in Lithuania. So that's a little bit a hint for you. And it's by the Baltic Sea. So which one is it? We will soon find out. And also a hint here is this picture that you see on the screen, also taken in the city where LCC is located. Okay, so the correct answer is Klaipėda. Very well done. Let's continue. Question number 2. Our study model is best described as performing arts, free arts, or liberal arts. So if you were following my presentation closely, you would remember that this is a study model that is common for North American colleges and universities. And it means that students are able to receive a holistic education by which they are able to explore the field of their chosen study, so their major, and also they can take courses outside of their major. They can explore other areas that they're interested in. So there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of room for creativity, for choice. And what is the name for the study model? And of course, it's called liberal arts. That's the name of the American study model that we use at LCC. Okay, we can continue to the next question, and it is how many bachelor level programs does LCC offer? So we are a small North American style liberal arts university. We have a few programs on the bachelor level and a few on the master's. So now we're talking about bachelor's. So that's the first 4 years of university education. And I was mentioning a few. So how many? Is it 4? Is it 6? Is it 8? Or is it 10? We are a small university, so we try to focus on what we can do best, and we don't offer too many programs, but the correct answer here is 5. Oh, sorry. I see that 5 people answered correctly and it mistakenly it's 6 programs, right? Very, very well done. So LCC has a full residential campus. Is it true or is it false? So you can look at this picture. It's an aerial shot of our campus. And what can you see there? What buildings? There is an academic building. There's a sports facility. There are dormitories, a beautiful lake, lots of green grass. So is it a residential campus or not? And once again, when you think about LCC, think about a typical North American college or university, and those would have a full residential campus. So people would live and study in the same place, and that is true about LCC. Okay, halfway through, question number 5. What is the name and the mascot of LCC basketball team? So I was mentioning in the very beginning that we actually now have 2 teams, a men's and a women's team, but both of them are called what? LCC Tigers, LCC Sharks, LCC Bears, or LCC Moose. And if you follow us on social media, you definitely know the answer. They are quite popular. And our students, professors, faculty members, staff members, they love going to the games. So the name of the 2 basketball teams that we have is LCC Moose. So now you know. Okay, question 6. What is the language of instruction at LCC? So is it Lithuanian? Is it Latin? Is it English? Or maybe Esperanto? Okay, well, I guess I'm kidding about Esperanto because it's not even one of the choices, but it's been a language that you guys mentioned a lot in your speeches. I wonder if you had the chance to learn any of it. But at LCC, we do teach in one international language, and it is which one? So make your choice. So I don't think that's going to be a very mysterious question, but who knows? And the correct answer is English. That's why we're having this English public speaking competition today. Question 7. Oh, so this is a technical question. I may not have specified it very well, but GPA, so the average score, in which subject is counted towards your admission score. So when you apply to LCC, we ask you to submit your high school grades from the last 2.5 years in school. And which questions would those, which subjects, excuse me, would those be from that we take into account? So you have some options on your screens. Maybe if you had a chance to go to our website, talk to our admissions counselors, you would know the answer. And if you are applying, if you are preparing to apply, you would know that these are the subjects that you need to pay special attention to because they are important for your LCC application. And that is English, math, history, and native language. So let's continue. What is Prime? So we have talked about this program that we offer at LCC. And how do we explain what it is? So if you remember, it has to do something with application to LCC, and we have an English proficiency test requirement. As we teach only in English, and it is very important for us that students who join the university speak good English. But if they have some issues, if they have some difficulties, we can always help them out. And the name of the program is Prerequisite Intensive Module in English. Okay. At LCC, we offer financial aid to students who are not able to pay for their studies in full. And that's how many? We do believe that it is important to offer opportunities to students who come from various financial backgrounds. And that's why we have different scholarships and grants at LCC. Quite a lot of LCC students do receive financial aid. And I believe in our presentation, we have shared the exact percentage. So is it 62, 35, 40, or 57? The correct one is 62. So a little bit over half of our students actually receive a discount. And last question, when is the closest deadline to submit your bachelor application for fall 2022? So if you're now in your final year in school, you can start applying, and the first deadline is when? Is it January, April, May, or February? So we do encourage students to apply early, as it is quite a process, and then you need to prepare for your visa and do lots of other things before you come to the university. And so you can apply as early as February 15th. So this is the early deadline. And the late deadline is May 15th. So you can apply later as well, but we encourage you to start the application earlier so that you would be able to know your admission decision earlier, and especially if you are interested in receiving a need-based aid grant. The earlier you apply, the more chances are that you would get a higher discount, because funds are limited, and people who apply early have more opportunities than those who apply later. All right. So thank you everyone who has participated in this LCC quiz. I hope that you have learned something new. And here's our podium. So Kate, Daniil, and who was it? Victoria. You did the best in the quiz. So thank you for being attentive, and everyone else, thank you for participating. All right, so I believe we're almost ready to find out who the participants, who the winners are. And let me check that really quickly with our judges, and we will be able to announce the winners very soon. I see that you are getting excited to find out who the winners are. So just give us a second and we will be ready in a few. So while we are preparing to announce the winners, I see that one of our judges, John McQuaig, does want to make a comment. So John, if you want to speak now, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm the chairman of the board of LCC, International University, and I've been involved with the university for about 12 years, including I teach a class there now. And first of all, I just want to say how impressed I am with all of your speeches, and the kind of the depth of your knowledge and the thinking that you've done about language and how important it is. And that's a great thing. So I'm excited to kind of hear your energy. And I was really impressed with the questions that the students asked. I mean, I kind of felt like the judges could sort of sit in the background and let the students ask the questions, because you had just a great dialogue going on. And I also want to encourage you to really think seriously about LCC. We have a really strong Ukrainian group of students, and we have for many years, including Lydia was one of those, I think, originally. And so they have a really strong bond. I've been to when they have the celebrations of some of your history and your culture and so forth. It's been amazing what the Ukrainians have done. And so I just think there's a really strong bond there, and I think you would enjoy it. I've spoken to many, many students, and I've never talked to a student that regretted their decision to go to LCC. It's amazing. And I'm sure there's been some, but I talk and they're just really excited about it. And so I think with kind of listening to you and all of you and your knowledge and your interest and so forth, I think it'd be a very exciting place for you to be. So I hope you seriously consider LCC. We'd love to have you. So thank you all for for participating in the speech contest. You all did a great job. As judges, it was very difficult to make a decision and say, come down to a short list. But we did the best we could. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. I agree with everything that you have said. And I do recommend LCC from my own personal experience. Today we have also one of the very first Ukrainian students at LCC, Olena Poplavska. So I think she can also recommend it as well. And maybe let's not make you wait anymore. I'm going to share my screen once again with you and announce the winners. And the three names that we're going to announce right now are, of course, the participants who did the best in this competition. And the three of them will be invited to continue with this competition and join the international finals in March. Okay. So the third place winner today is Daniil Ikonikov. Congratulations, Daniil. You did very well. And you will be invited to participate in the next round of the competition in March. And now we will find out who the second place winner is. And today that is Katerina Hrapak. Katerina, very well done. We will also be happy to see you in our international competition in March. And the first place winner for today, drum roll, everyone. Today that is Olga Burdeina. So congratulations, Olga. You will also be invited to be one of the representatives of Ukraine in the international finals. So once again, congratulations to all speakers, to all presenters. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to learn to your speeches, to hear your dialogue. It was very impressive. So once again, thank you everyone for this productive time. And I wish everyone to have a good rest of their day, and we'll see you in March.